All right, welcome back to the Contract Podcast,
Hey there.
where we talk about the deals we make
and
those that break.
That's right.
It's Tony here with my favorite co-host, Amber and Eva.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
The topic today is near and dear really to all of our hearts. I won't say both of our hearts. One of us is younger than the other two, but
Not too far behind.
not too far behind. Today we want to talk a little bit about late career professionals. That could mean a lot of different ages. We understand that. But we want to talk about how later stage professionals, we'll call it, thrive in the current work environment. There's a generation of Americans right now, roughly in their 40s, 50s, and perhaps early 60s, who grew up believing in every specific promise. Go to school, earn your degree, find a great job and a great job company to work for. Retire perhaps at 65 or so, and the world would await you. That was the contract. And for a lot of people, the contract is unraveling in real time, right before all of our eyes. From AI disrupting the workplace, from spending decades mastering skill sets and technical procedures, to retirement funds disappearing perhaps for some, and just savings not being adequate to keep up with today's costs. So today we want to be really honest, we want to be frank, and have a real grounded conversation about that reality and what people in this particular for us, stage of their careers are actually doing about it. All right. So first up on the agenda, ladies, I want to talk a little bit about just I'll call it the sense of fear, maybe worry, that comes over some of us when we realize that this career contract that we thought we signed up for has changed. Maybe we changed jobs, maybe we pseudo retired, but that whole promise of working hard and retiring comfortably is not what it used to be.
Right.
So how do you help someone who's perhaps struggling a little bit? They're worried. They're anxious at this point. What do you do? What do you tell them? How do we cheer those people up?
Yeah, I have so many friends and family. Anyway, I love this semi-pseudo retired also. All right. So this is an emotional time, right? So people put a lot of time and effort into their careers.
They do.
And for that, it doesn't even matter like how your age. People put a lot of time and effort in their careers. Period, point blank, stop, as they say. As you get older, there's more time that's put in. So there's a lot of emotion that's there. So you got to recognize and accept your feelings. Don't be ashamed of them. Don't shy away from them. It is a tough pill to swallow when you realize that all of this education that you got, all of this experience that you have is becoming obsolete, right? Your feelings are real and they're also valid. So get through all that. Once you get through your feelings, figure out what your actions are going to be. You're going to have those feelings, but you need to act if you want to get on top of this new changing world that we're existing in. Have yourself a good career plan. You can go find a template out there. Talk to someone who is expert in this space. If you've got that capability, talk to your leader. Gain an understanding of the skills that are needed for this new day and age. Go after what you can reasonably do. So there are some things that are out there that are free. There are some things out there that are inexpensive. There are some things that are very expensive. You know what your thresholds are and what your limitations are. But go find those resources, but just make sure that you do something. You got to do something, because sitting around waiting for something to happen for you, for your employer to somehow come see the light and to approach you with that's great if it happens, but oftentimes it won't happen. So use your network. You've got a lot of contacts, the longer that you work, the more contacts theoretically that you acquire. So just exercise everything that's within your power and threshold. But like I said, you don't want to sit around waiting to see if your employer is going to like just have some epiphany and come to you about what to do with you and your career. So that would be my advice to everyone, like acknowledge your emotions and do something about it.
So I'm not alone in being afraid, is what you're saying. In other words, I just need to acknowledge that I'm afraid and get a plan. Okay. I like that. Well, there are some fears that still stick with me, but we'll delve more into that as we go along. I think that there are a lot of misconceptions that folks have about mid to late career uh, folks. And I thought, Amber, I know you have thought about this a lot. I'd like for you to talk to us a bit about this. I mean, what's the challenge here? What should people be thinking about? How do you move forward?
Yeah, I think it absolutely, like Eva was saying, it's valid for folks to be, kind of knocked off your keister a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
A
it's
lot of us
not
has never been here before. It's the
Right.
first, right? Yeah.
absolutely, and the speed of change today is faster than ever before. It is being accelerated by a lot of things we've talked about. We've talked about technology and AI in particular. We're living through in real time another industrial revolution, if you will, transforming way of work. However, what I have challenged myself to change the mindset and really realize, and you touched on it a little bit, Eva, that the longer that you work, the more knowledge and experience you have, that is actually an asset, not a liability.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
The more experience, the more seasoned judgment you have, the more ways that you have probably had to figure out of problem solving in different ways, creativity, right? And so looking at experience as an asset versus a liability is something that I would really encourage folks in this stage, that's us included, to latch onto and to unlock this. It's almost a next chapter. It's a new way of looking at what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And realizing that you have a lot to offer. And I would say this is a really interesting time when we talk a lot about mindset, unlocking that entrepreneurial mindset. It may manifest at this stage and this concept of gig economy, right? We hear a lot about folks that are fractional CFOs or fractional CMOs, et cetera. So taking all of this knowledge and skill set that you're able to provide that leadership and that vision casting, that strategic kind of visioning for folks, but not full time. That's something to think about. If you don't decide to do that on a very formal basis, you can also do that within your organization, in various ways. So think about how you lean in, right? And so exercising that leadership capability and thought leadership in different ways, right? Also thinking about upskilling and reskilling. This is not the end because you've been in this game a long time. That means you've survived a long time. You only survive by continuing to evolve, right? So that's a different way of looking at things. So don't be afraid. I mean, you said do something, Eva, right? One thing to do is to realize I have tools at my disposal for free. A lot of times, if I'm an employer, to upskill, to shadow some other folks, to lean in and learn something new, so that I'm never stuck in a corner. You never back baby into the corner, right? Because you have some more skills. You can teach this old dog new tricks because I'm constantly learning.
Right.
You made me think about something, Amber, when you said
made me
that.
think about something too.
Yeah,
That's what I do, people.
That's what she does. But when I think about having a longer driveway or path, if you will, professionally, one thing that I think about is that there aren't a lot of things that I've never seen before. Right. I may not know how to best utilize the current technology to, do something in 20 minutes less time than I used to, or perhaps something like that. But the confidence that I have at this stage of my life, because I'm not afraid that something's going to be so new to me, is that secret sauce.
It
That's
absolutely
a secret
is.
sauce that I can't really describe to anyone. It's like, once you know, you know.
And that's something that I think that many of us that have been either in the same company or industry for the past 10, 15, 20 years, we forget because we start to get distracted, I think.
Well, and it goes so
Right.
fast.
It goes so fast. And we sometimes, because of this nervousness, this
Yeah.
worry that are we becoming obsolete? Are we behind the curve in some way? Begins to cloud out the fact that, oh, what got me here was that curiosity, was that drive, was that, raising my hand. I don't need to stop doing that.
That's
Let me
right.
keep doing that. And guess what? I did that. Don't forget that you did that. You have those skills.
Well, as they say, one of the more attractive attributes of a leader is confidence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone wants to follow someone who looks like they know where they're going.
Mhm.
So I'll hold on to that thought.
No, I
Sorry,
was just really quick. This was making me think about the pandemic and just stay with me
Mhm.
and how it gave people more focus on what's important and what matters to me. And as you get older, if you have the privilege of kind of just stepping back and thinking about that, because sometimes you'll sit in these roles and it's like, who am I? Like I don't recognize
And with
myself.
that, I'd like to
after all
thank
these
everyone for joining
years
us
of doing
today
this work. So
on the Contract
also one of the things success
You can find out more about the Contract Podcast on the website, thecontractpodcast.com,
But I think
or
that
the_contract_podcast
hitting yourself with all of the
on
knowledge, all of
Instagram.
the
Thank you for joining us.
that comes with
Have a great
maturity,
day. Bye-bye.
experience.
and combine that now with the youth that's coming in and behind it, that potentially opens up a new dynamic. Think about the different generations
someone who's wrapped up in a job title and that's changing with that time. What do those folks look for? I mean, if you've had your whole life thinking, well, my main focus, or I strive very hard to become a vice president, and maybe the organization has changed, or maybe my skill sets, my technical skill sets, or my technological skill sets don't get me there anymore. How do you go about dealing with this angst and worry, and then dealing with your identity being changed?
Well, this is something that I often talk about that with my blogs and with those that I encourage. You've got to decouple who you are, your self-identity from a job. Because really, the title and job is change. That you're there temporarily. Again, it's a mindset. Right? Mindset of being the free agent. You are here, you're doing a job. But you are you. And so, how do you recalibrate? And my philosophy is, folks that follow me, it's really about getting down to identifying first, reassessing, or reminding yourself of who you are. And how I think who you are is equals to your core values, and not 15 values. Getting down to 3 core values, because that's what our brain kind of latch on to. And when you really focus there, absent a title, absent a role, absent a salary, if you focus there and then say, okay, this is what is most important to me. This is what I stand on. I stand on business, right? This is what I stand on. And this is how it shows up at work. Whatever the work is, if you're aligned, then title can be transient, right? The place can be transient, but now you're able to unlock your whole self. You're bringing that new energy, that aligned energy to the work. So that, again, as you get older, taking all of your skills, all of your competencies, which are those skills that you were talking about, Tony. There's not a lot that you haven't seen. You're able to take the skills and apply them in a lot of different ways. Those are the competencies with aligned to your core values. Now you don't worry about the title. They becomes less important because your measure of success changes, right? That ruler changes. And when I think about what has, just from personal experience, been most rewarding is when I've been able to let go of the comparison or,
Yes.
me,
Comparison
I
kills.
who I should be
Mhm.
because I have this credential
Right.
or I've been here or whatever, to the satisfaction, the fulfillment I'm getting from
Mhm.
whatever I'm doing. Now my frame for what success is has changed. So that's really, again, I keep saying mindset, but I don't want it to be lost as like a jargony type of word. It truly is a way of living and walking.
Mhm.
And it has to be very intentional and it has to be defined, because if you don't define it for yourself, it will be defined for you. And that's not going to be most of the times aligned to what
Yeah.
you need it to be.
Well, and if you define it for yourself, then the target doesn't move,
Mhm.
right? So if someone else is defining it for you, they're changing the target for you also. Is, what I'm hearing you say and what I'm agreeing to. So yeah, that's my little 2 cents.
What also doesn't change is your satisfaction
Yeah.
once you get there, to your
Mhm.
point. A lot of I think this discussion is premised on a couple of things. One, a person's ability to, be thoughtful and have the opportunities, of course, to execute on those alignments that work with their principles and so forth. But as we'll talk about in a future podcast, money has to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The personal
Let's be real.
savings
Let's be real.
at this age and stage for us, you have to be well, perhaps on your way to hopefully being comfortable and maybe even on the retirement journey. So we'll have some really good conversations about how do you make sure that that you are where you should be, so that you can have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more courage, and maybe a little bit more flexibility to try maybe even try a role that doesn't pay as much as it otherwise would, but you might be circling back to either hone in on some competencies that you hadn't fully fleshed out, or even some technical aspects of your career that you never had exposure to and would like to test that muscle, explore those. So we'll get there. And money, when we talk about money, of course, that's a very sensitive topic. And we are not financial advisors, but we will make sure that we do that discussion justice. Any parting thoughts on what it feels like to be in your 40s, 50s, and maybe even early 60s? And how do you really just not throw all caution to the wind, but really let it be a liberating time in your career where you can enjoy yourself?
I think that so the more experience that you have, the more experience that you have to maximize and capitalize on what's available to everyone in this world, right? You have this great knowledge and capacity if you use it well, if you embrace it. It is very scary, but
I'm scared a lot of days.
I think a lot of that fear is because we spent so much time in one particular system and way of thinking. And it can be a liberating thing to really explore who you are as an individual and what you want out of your life and not what someone's dictating to you. But then also just to learn more things and be more creative, perhaps, than you've ever been in your entire life.
And just really quickly, I'd say that it's also a time to pour into others in a way maybe that you haven't done before, in a way that it truly is you contributing to a legacy. You're building a legacy by sharing your knowledge to others. And in exchange, in doing that, you're building yourself with new skills, new perspectives. And so it's not over. It's just the next chapter. And that's important to remember.
Yep.
Wow. Well, this was fun to talk about. We've got more, I'm sure, in this area to discuss, and we'll delve into as we talk about adjacent topics. But I think what I've learned from you guys is that it's this time in our careers can represent freedom. It can represent an investment and a payback on the confidence and the hard work that we put into it. Scary nonetheless, but it's the it's the best and maybe the last time that we'll have certain challenges that we can't afford to leave behind. So that's the fun part of life and a career, that you can pick it all up, if you will, and look back on it when it's really, really over, if that ever is the case, and say that you did everything you wanted to. All right.
Absolutely.
Preach.
We will see you guys next time on the Contract Podcast. Check our websites, our social media, and come back with us next time.
Thanks, everybody.